Hello, everyone. My name is Claudia Schwartz, and I will be the moderator for today's panel on how to digitize your festival. And I'm very excited to introduce my speakers. First up, we have Robin van den Bergh. Robin, please join us on the stage. Second up, we have Caroline Mükusch with PricewaterhouseCoopers. Please come on stage. And then last, Tim with Global Event Technologies, Get, which you might have seen is on this wristband. So they are focused on cashless technology. So I'm happy that you're all here. This panel will be conducted in English. You're welcome to ask questions in German. So please feel free to ask in both languages, and I will translate on stage. We have an hour for this panel, so I'm very excited to have a little bit of time for you. And we will basically start with a short introduction. I'll ask you to introduce yourself in sort of a minute to 2 minutes, and then we'll start the discussion.
Thank you. My name is Robin. I am the managing director for Admiral, and we build music festival applications and event applications. And we have clients like Tomorrowland, Rock am Ring, Good Life, some very exciting German clients on a global scale. So, yeah.
Is it on? Yeah, okay. Hi, I'm Caroline. I'm director at PwC, and there I lead the IMOS team. IMOS stands for AI Mobile Solutions, and we run there an AI-powered crowd management platform. And yeah, we will talk about that.
Yes, and hello from my side. My name is Tim Moser. I am co-founder and CEO of Global Event Technologies, in short, Get. And yeah, we are the provider of the access and cashless technology here, focused on music festivals. In Germany, we do Wacken Festival, Rock am Ring, Rock im Park. In Austria, Electric Love, Nova Rock Frequency. Not this year, but last year. Yeah.
Wonderful. So my name is Claudia Schwartz. I'm with the Federal Association for Music Technology. If you haven't heard of it, please check us out on our website. And then we'll just get into the conversation, I guess. So we will start with a short description of each other's model for the speakers, and then we'll kind of ask. I will ask a couple of questions. Feel free to join in at any point. We don't have a separated Q&A session, so we want to engage you as much as we can. So please just raise your hand, and then Paul will be so kind to come to you with a mic. Caroline, if I may, I want to start with you. Please tell us a little bit about your platform so we have a better idea of what you do.
Of course. PwC is known as an auditing and consulting company, and 2 years ago we started to invest into real technology. So we bought a startup that trained over 10 years in artificial intelligence and neural network for crowd management. And 2 years ago we bought this platform, and with this platform we can analyze movement patterns of visitors at festivals, and there we try to understand how groups of people tick at a festival and to predict their crowd behavior. And that's in a nutshell what we do.
And is this currently in beta or sort of in a development? Is this currently in a beta phase or in a development stage?
No,
or are you
it's
already implemented?
It's implemented with our customers.
Do you have a couple of examples that you might be able to share?
Yeah, it was used for Rock am Ring 2018. It was implemented with a big folk festival in Bavaria that takes place every year in Munich. We did the Olympic Games in London. We did a lot of royal, public and political events and ceremonies in UK and the Netherlands, and we use the platform for our public sector customers in smart city and smart mobility projects.
Okay, so it's very broad.
It's
customer
broad,
base.
yeah.
Okay, got it. Robin, if I may kind of switch over to you, I think we have some slides from your company as well. Please go ahead and
Yes, thank you. Actually, we started this company 12 years ago in the tiny but beautiful Belgium. And back then, to give a little bit of perspective in time on how long we are already making these festival applications, smartphones still had buttons, and BlackBerry was the biggest. So that's a long time ago. And we know what we do. Since then, it's been a nice ride for us. And this year, we already see 2.4 million app users on our platforms. And we serve around 120 festival clients around the planet. The majority of what we do is happening in the music and live scene, festivals and music events, but also we see now that there's an opportunity for us to extend our offering to other verticals like sports events, which is actually pretty much similar to a festival. There's a lot of people on a terrain looking not at the music performance, but actually at a sport. And also we have some conferences and we are taking our first steps into artists and brands as well, because we see that the applications are making an evolution from information about timetables more towards a year-round marketing tool. But I think we're going to explain that a bit later on.
In this talk. Later, yeah. Okay, and you've kind of gone through the slides already, or because I didn't
it's okay.
Paid attention to you.
It's okay.
Right, Tim, maybe just a quick introduction of what you do.
As mentioned, we are a provider of cashless payment access control. We started 7 years ago. Get was a spin-off of the Electric Laugh Festival, so it was developed back in the days because Electric Laugh Festival had no solution for the payment, no digital solution. So we developed a solution. First, we started only with the cashless payment for big festivals, so only at the point of sale. And after that, we added all the functionalities around access control to it. And now we see us as our vision is we digitalize events. So we see us as the partner for all the digital applications on site. And as Robin mentioned, for us it's also important that we work together on a good user experience from the ticketing. We don't do ticketing. Preload together with Admiral, loading up money on the wristband on the account, going to the festival, buying some food, making top-ups on the day after, before the festival starts again. So we try to optimize the user experience flow, because in the end we believe it has to be easy and has to be useful for the customer. Only then it's good for the promoter.
Yeah, very well. Just a quick check with the audience. Any questions so far? Maybe some hands up. Who of you is a festival organizer? 1, 2. Oh, that's unexpected. I thought it was like going to be half the room. Okay, 2, 3. Caroline, what are the biggest challenges that you're trying to solve with the platform service?
The biggest challenge is to a little bit, shift the mindset of the event organizers, because the event organizers are hesitating a little bit to use artificial intelligence to optimize their events. And what we're doing now is we try to show and demonstrate the benefits artificial intelligence can have for crowd management. Artificial intelligence can bring so much to the table. It can create greater security. It can help to optimize the event performance. It can support in creating unique event experience for the visitors, and all the potential is now not used in its full potential. So we would like to shift this mindset for the event organizers to use this technology for their events.
By making it easy, kind of accessible for them. That's sort of the relationship that you try to establish. Okay. So the main relationship you have is with the organizers and not directly to the consumers, not directly to the audience.
No, our clients are the event organizers or the cities or security operators and these kind.
And what's the main relationship that you cater to? Like, what kind of customer relationships do you have?
So same, we talk to the festival teams themselves. We built the official application, and information and communication normally are actually, when you see the evolution of what we did as a company, it all started with information. Mm-hmm. Who's playing at what stage? I can build my own calendar, I can build my own schedule. But what we see right now, that there's a lot more challenges for these organizers. One of the challenges is how do we make sure that we can sell our tickets? So it's a marketing challenge that they're facing. And the problem is that lots of the platforms these days, like Facebook and Instagram, they're controlled by Zuckerberg. And how do we give them some balance in their marketing mix? And I think our application can solve that problem, to make sure that an organizer is there to inform its clients without paying money every time. Talk to the ticket buyer when they want it, without every time passing by the cash register of Zuckerberg. And I think that is exactly what we try to do with Admiral. Give them an extra tool to communicate and to sell to them and to connect to them and to engage with them. Also, data is an extraordinary challenge that is these days. How do we get to know our customer? We have ticketing data and we have data on different silos, but it's not connected. And we need to connect the dots. And also, we were recently acquired by a much larger company last year, which is connecting the dots. And I think that the future of festivals will be mainly data-driven, and we want to play a very important role in that one.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you want to connect sort of your audiences year-round and not just for the specific period of the festival. How do you do that? How many people engage once the event is over, and how soon do they start?
Good question. So first of all, let's make sure that sometimes for festivals we reach 100% download rate. So that means that 100% of the ticket buyers also downloads the application to check about the timetable. So they have an enormous opportunity here to stay connected to their audience. The problem is if that application is only showing them a timetable, then you will lose them. People will throw that application off their device. So they need to rethink their content marketing. They need to rethink what is the value that people will keep that application on their phone. Some of the values might be, I'll get access to early bird tickets, an extra early bird ticket sale for them. Or instead of thank you. Instead of the after movie of 5 minutes or the full photo gallery of day one, instead of throwing it on Facebook, we say put a little teaser on Facebook, but get the full experience on your own platform. Because then the sponsorship opportunity opens up. The more user attention they have on their own channel, the better sponsorship deals they can do. So it's this big puzzle that they need to lay.
Right, to keep people on the platform, basically.
To get people on their platform, yeah.
So, Tim, that's something that you mentioned as well, like you're focusing on using the data and making people understand the data better. So can you give an example of how you deal with your customers, your clients, how kind of to educate them on how they can better use the data and monetize on it?
Yeah, so I would say we have more the easy data because with our system, a promoter is selling drinks, is selling food, is letting people into a festival. So we have, of course, a lot of transactional data we can provide to systems, like you have. But of course, we also try to help promoters to understand the data. A lot of promoters, they have already their own business intelligence tools. We are completely open on an API, so they can get out all the data, so they can make their own reports, they can connect their own dots to the ticketing, sales, etc. We don't have yet an own department where we have a consulting, like active consulting for promoters. That's something we would like to establish, but we don't have of course we have a lot of data, we can recommend something, but we don't have an own consulting team which is saying, hey, do that, do that. But yeah, we have a lot of promoters, they do that already by themselves, just using the data. And in most of the time, the data, in our case, are used for making the event more efficient, cutting opening times, making price adjustments, making nicer deals, flat rate things, giving 1 beer extra if you come 3 hours earlier, things like that. That's everything possible with our system. And yeah, that's basically what we do.
Yeah. Any questions so far? Yeah, go ahead, please. Paul, if you don't mind.
Hey, I have many questions, but I'll try not to hog the stage too much. Okay, so I'll start with you real quick. What would you say is a decent setup time to get an app running for a certain event or?
The day after your event. That's the ideal situation, of course. But let's say if you need at least a month or 2 months before to do the promo, that people get, they see that. But what we also see is the first time when they launch an application, you need those 3 weeks, and we see especially a build-up at the event, even at the gates. People are still downloading the application. But then the question is, for next year, you want to start as soon as possible, like you do for your website. It's normal.
Okay, so if if I'm in the planning stage for my event, how early would you recommend I get in touch if I want specific functions for the app for the visitors, if I want a good map, if I want a good timetable, all these integrations, how long would you say?
Normally, our time from A to Z, from scratch to the App Store submit, it takes us around 4 to 6 weeks to submit an application to the stores. So, and the most of the time is us training you on how to use the platform, how to create cards, how to create these artists, how to create stage and performances, and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, how does integration work with, let's say, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? I don't know.
We don't. We don't integrate with Facebook. No, we want to do the opposite. We want to create our own Facebook, because then we are at the triggers and we can get the money. But we do have an Instagram integration, but it's more like we are pulling the content of Instagram into our platform. So if they push something on their Instagram platform, we will automate it and put it into their newsfeed so that something is happening. The newsfeed that we also have, it's an important thing for activity in the application. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. All right, then I have a couple...
Can I just intersect just for a second? Quick question. So you build customized app for these new partners. How often are you being surprised by something you haven't heard, like a new request that someone hasn't thought of and you haven't thought of, and you have to build it from scratch?
Not that much.
Okay.
Typically we see, it doesn't matter if a festival is happening in Australia or in the Netherlands or in Denmark, the need of your festival visitor is always the same.
Okay.
So that's why we built a framework, we call it, so that we can easily reuse the same code base in a modular and flexible way, completely branded to the festival. So the needs are pretty much the same. Typical questions that we get was, can we have a photo filter? Or can we chat within the application? And our answer is always the same. People already have 5 chat apps on their phone. Stick to what you want to do to them and stick to the experience that you're providing. Don't try to create a lightweight WhatsApp, because I don't have 5,000 developers to build the same experience, and you don't have the money to build something similar. So it will always be less. So less is more.
I agree very much. That's the first recommendation to all of the startups that come to us as well. Like, don't start building the same thing. Yeah, got it. Sorry. Back to your questions.
Thank you. Right, regarding AI, how do you gather the information during the day? How do you do that?
We use the movement patterns of the people, of the crowd, and we gather this information via the smartphones.
Okay, so they have to log in, or do you access a Google API and get it from, well, like, what do you do?
We cooperate with an event organizer, and the only requirement that has to be met to work with us is that the event organizer has its own app. And there we integrate our SDK, our software development kit, and that contains the artificial intelligence. And as soon as it's integrated into the app, the user has to give its opt-in. And as soon as they give their opt-in, we aggregate and use the data, and then we conduct our crowd behavior analysis.
Okay.
And Caroline, what's your opt-in rate? If you're able to share that?
It depends on the audience. It depends on the festival. It's something between 20 and 70%. We need only 2% at the size of 50,000 visitors, but generally we have something between 20 and 70%.
Very nice.
Okay. From your experience, what would you say would be the biggest and most useful use case for me as a festival operator? Where do you see is the biggest value for me in this information that I gather from you?
The first is security. You can create greater security with the artificial intelligence, because you know exactly where the people are, for how long, how they move over a site, and you can measure the flow and the density, and that's very important for all the security measurements. You can use it as well for event optimization. So if you want to optimize the event performance, your sponsors, the event organizers understand how is the people flow over a site. You see the critical paths between the infrastructures. So you can ask yourself, is the advertising space optimally used? Did you use all the selling spots or the food spots, or can you create better offers for the visitors with these movement patterns? And the other thing is the event experience. So if you want to create an event experience that is holistically, so you start not only at the entrance control, but begin the journey with the customer as soon as they buy a ticket, and share information with them, for example, with the location-based messaging, then you can create a unique event experience. And these are 3 typical use cases we do with our customers.
If I may add to that one, sorry. I think it's very important as an experience provider, you have a short amount of time where the magic needs to happen. So you have that one day, you have that 5 hours or 6 hours time window in which the magic would happen. So every time that they're queuing, every time they're doing something that they don't like, you're missing out on something. You're missing out on experience, and you're missing out on revenue. So it's very important that in those 5 hours you'd be in full control. And that's why technology can help the festival organizers to stay in control, to proactively or reactively engage with the crowd on site to do that. And also what we see is that there's a lot of gut feeling still going on in our industry, and we are rapidly professionalizing. We are competing to football. In the weekend, there's only a few hours in the weekend that people will spend their leisure time money. So we're competing to football clubs, we're competing to all kinds of kinepolis, cinema, name it. So it has to be perfect, and you can't just rely on gut feeling anymore. It has to be data-driven, and we need to know and measure what we do. And then we can make the right decisions to make the experience even better. And I think that's how technology from all of us can help the organizers to make that experience even better. And it's not about just data collection, but sometimes it sounds bad. It's really about understanding your audience and understanding your client to give them a better service. It's pretty normal, actually.
I very much agree. Yeah, I think to kind of challenge your own assumptions about how your event works. And I think I've been a festival organizer for 15 years, and you kind of just assumed that you know what's happening, and then you were surprised every single time, and you kind of had to act really quickly. And so this is a way to help and kind of build a better understanding of your event. So I agree.
Yeah, just one last quick follow-up there. So the data, is that also available live, or is it just after the fact?
We deliver the whole spectrum of analysis, so you can do comparative analysis, compare, last month with the month before. You can compare to events, for example, but you can also use it for your operations and security management with your real-time analytics, and you also can use it for predictive analysis. So it's the full spectrum of analysis there.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much.
Wonderful. Any more questions? Okay, go ahead, Paul, if you may. I'll ask one in between. So obviously we're talking a lot about data. So the first question that always comes up in that conversation is privacy. Does anyone want to take that question? Maybe Tim, like how do you protect the data of your customers, of your audience?
So we never own the data. We are just, I don't know the English word, Auftragsdatenverarbeiter. Of course, we take it very seriously. Our servers are in Germany, so within the European Union, we have a regularly security audit by the KPMG. Sorry, it's not PwC. So we take it very seriously, and of course, we would never store credit card data because we are not a bank, so we use other services for that. But of course, if a ticket is personalized, in our database there is personal data. And we connect it then to the cashier's data, to the entrance data, and therefore we need to take it seriously to protect the data.
Mm-hmm. Robin?
Yeah, same for us. Normally it's never our data. It's always the client's data. We are data processor, and we will do whatever it takes that the data coming over our infrastructure is managed by the right tooling. I think the choice of our backend tooling, we work with Amazon, for example. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of the most secure platforms to do all that. You can't build it on your own. That time has long gone. You have to use the big players, make integrations in every possible way, and do regularly pen testing and name it all to make sure that everything is compliant. But our clients, they make sure that we do that. So no worries there.
Well.
Same for us. The slogan of our company is building trust, and we walked through a one-year process to make our technology 100% GDPR compliant. So we don't hide our SDK in the terms and conditions. We always ask the user to opt in, and they decide if they want to agree or disagree. So 100% transparency.
Okay, good answers. Yeah, are we ready for the mic there? Yeah.
Hi. From the point of view of a festival goer, a person, especially music festival for the app, how much of your app can be offline? Especially in Germany, connection is a big problem. How much
Same
can
in
we
Belgium.
get?
At some point, we all think that 5G will clear everything up. The problem is that, once we go at a festival, we want to share with our friends on Instagram and TikTok how cool it is to be at a festival. So we're using gigabytes of data to send all those packages. And the problem is there will be a connection drop. Our platform is 100% offline available, the core functionality. Of course, we can't get up. If there's no connection, then we can't update the application. But everything that you already saw and everything that is being cached then we can do. So the timetable, normally the users won't even know that we were offline or they are offline. So we try to cache as much as possible to make sure that it goes smoothly. Once the connection re-establishes, then we can send out all the data transfers again.
Just as an add-on, store locally, so cache, just so for if the audience, I don't know how technical
even push
the
reminders are stored locally, just for that, because some people also, when they enter the festival grounds, they go to flight mode because they want to save battery, which makes total sense. But yeah, then if the application doesn't work, then we have nothing to say anymore. So no, it works offline. Yeah.
And about last-minute changes, changes on the schedule, or
you
for
need
example,
for that. Yeah.
the Rock am Ring when there was this rain all the time and there was danger for people.
Yeah.
Would that be something that could be doable without?
Yeah, push notifications is a very small package, so it's only a few bytes of data that needs to be transferred. So normally these things, they will pass through even with very slow 3G connection. But if you want to post a new video about something, of course, it will take some time to load or not load. So yeah.
Thank you.
But I think in general, there's always this connection between analog, or at least a plan B for going analog if you have to. So I think the announcements for rain, that always came sort of on stage, right? So that's not all their fault if the connection drops. So anybody else want to speak to the point of offline?
We depend 100% on energy and internet. So if you want to make real-time analysis, you need a connection. Yeah.
And for us, it's the other way around. We don't need the network because all the data is stored on the chip. So we have like offline first approach from the beginning on. We have all the online features, but only if we are online. But we can work without network. And I think that's very important because if you have a festival, a cashless payment at a festival or access control, a digital access control at a festival, this is not a nice to have, like maybe an app is like a nice to have because we are must have. If it's in place, it has to work. And it has also to work.
It's a need to have.
Sorry?
It's a need
It's
to
a
have.
need to have,
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I saw another question up here.
Hi. Hi, my name is Ivo. I work at many festivals every year since 8 years, and I'm selling for JTI, American Spirit, a song, and I'm mobile on the whole festival area. And for Get It, I like Get It the most from all the other programs or systems. But a big problem is that happens many often is that a customer won't buy something and don't know how much money is on the chip. And sometimes they told me, yeah, I could check it on my phone, but they don't have the connection. And I have a tool, the Get It tool, and can hold it on it. But sometimes they go to a cash station because they have €0 on the chip. They go and they put it on €10, come back, and it's not on it. Is there any plan to get that more
That's
straight?
not possible technically, so it's always on the chip. So if any device from our side says there is money on it, it's on it because this information about the balance is written on the chip.
And how can the customer check the balance?
At every, if a customer is paying at your point of sale, you see immediately the new balance on the screen.
Yeah, so he had to ask me every time.
No, but if you're selling cigarettes, okay, it's €6 and this is your new balance.
Yeah.
It's already on the screen. That's one thing. The other thing is we had,
Yes.
yeah, maybe Robin. Yeah.
So it's a good question because it's actually a need. You need to step away
big
from
one.
that important place you have now on the main stage to check your balance. It's again, you only have a small window, so we need to facilitate that kind of stuff. That's why together with Get, we are making a native integration, but we can't integrate everything. So it will be a semi-native integration. But for example, the ticket balance is something that we can cache. So when you open up the application, we will do an API call to the database of Get to see what's the balance on your wristband. That's something that we can definitely do. Same with transactions. Those are things that we can do an API call. We can cache it on the device, so everything is also offline available. Of course, when you need to top, there will be a transaction in place, and then again, you need the connection. And I think we need to make that better. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we need to do next year, is to make that cashless journey experience a whole lot better. And I think the combination of a smartphone with a wristband, it has a lot of opportunities. So this is highly on our roadmap for next year. So I hope that we can solve that, or we can crack that problem by next year. That's the idea, 2023, summer.
And how about the tip button? A lot of customers want to give tip and so on, and it's cashless. And a lot of people would appreciate our work. And at the most cashless festivals, there's no opportunity. And some are very creative. And
you can always say, kannst du immer auf Deutsch sagen.
Achso, okay. Ja, die Becher zum Beispiel. Der Becherpfand, da haben manche gesagt, ein Cashless-System sozusagen.
Sie würden es einfach lassen. Und,
den Becher mir geben sozusagen und das wurde dann auch quasi rausgelöscht und geblockt. Bei Wacken zum Beispiel, bei Rock am Ring. Is it easier for you in English?
There's a cup deposit at many festivals for reusable cups and so forth. So a lot of people kind of tend to just give it to the bartender and say, keep the deposit. I don't want the deposit back. But there's no way to do that technically at the moment.
I think that's a question for Tim.
Yeah. So basically, it works with our system. That's just a decision of the promoter if he would like to allow tip. That's just as simple as that. But we will also optimize our tip flow, because at the moment it's just an additional product in the POS menu where I can type in we call it flexible or variable price. But we are thinking about to have an extra step for a tip, like it is on the classical payment terminal in the restaurant. But that's technically it's just a product for us with which is called tip.
Yeah, or maybe an option that you can say when I buy something, maybe a 5% tip, that you can do the option before you get on the party, because some people are on another way.
You mean for every transaction then? So automatically 5% on every purchase?
As an option.
Yeah,
because
okay,
when you go to the festival and you say, hey, I worked at that in the past, so I know that it's very hard, and maybe I say 5% is okay. And that would be a good option, I think. And I talk to a lot of customers. They always say, no tip button, there's no appreciation option for us at the cashless system.
So technically, yes, possible, good idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so social awareness and awareness for a lot of causes like sustainability, climate crisis and so forth is a very growing sort of number of people sort of who are adamant about this. Is that something, is there a donation function that could also be integrated in this tip function? I mean, because I like the idea of having a sort of, at the beginning of the event, you say, for every transaction I do, I want to have 1% donated to this cause. Or
yeah, we exactly did something for smaller festivals, and we are thinking about to establish something also for the big festivals next year, because technically we have exactly this solution that we have like if you go to our booth, you can see our so-called smart gates. We can have them configured as a pay gate. You just go there, just one tap, and you would pay €1 to whatever. So that's just possible, and yeah, we have some clients who are using that.
Can
sometimes
you name
also for
examples, or what kind of use cases have been happening in the past?
It was event in Austria, live ball. It was for AIDS, but it's not happening anymore. But they used our system completely for all the donations, because we also can generate those donation receipts for that you can have it in your accounting.
And that's something you can do after the event as well? So if someone decides, I need this receipt after, I didn't think about it before?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we generate the receipt in real time, but it's available 7 years later as well.
Okay. And just coming back to Robin, because you kind of responded to the question of how can I check this with my mobile phone, for example. So this would essentially mean that you would hold your wristband against your phone and it would kind of read the balance? Is that what
I think there's a QR code on the back of... Or it depends.
Yeah, it really depends. So if you have a good integration, everything. So in our case, it starts with the ticket. A visitor has a ticket, and the ticket is linked either to our account or to Admiral's account. But in the end, we have to connect it internally. So if you go with your connected wristband to the festival, the ticket is scanned. You get the wristband, and up from that moment, you have your wristband already in the Admiral app, because we know that this is the same person. And that's exactly what I mentioned in the beginning. We need to look that the customer experience is fluentless, and that it doesn't, it should not be the visitor's problem. If we have a good connection in the end, it has to be seamless over all platforms. There's single sign-on, one login, and getting all the complete flow.
But this could also include an option of tapping your balance, increasing your balance on the chip through your mobile phone?
basically, it's not by tapping, but you click on top up in the app and it goes through the server. But yeah, technically it's like you would. So you just go through the server once and then to the wristband and not directly. But yeah,
but in that case, you would need the connection because obviously that doesn't work offline, right?
That's right. Yeah, but you can't make credit cards payment anyway if you don't have network. So that's.
And this kind of collaboration, is that something? Would that be a unique collaboration, or is something happening like that already with some other competitors?
At this point, we're doing it web-based, but the problem with web-based is that there's no connection, then it will not work. But yeah, we came from a COVID crisis, and I think integration cost everything. We need to see where we put our development efforts. But for this year, this is one of the highest things on our roadmap, and we should do it. We're gonna do it. So it's planned.
All the power to you. I think it would be a really improvement on
there are no semi-native wallets at this point, and I think we've done all the research to prepare the backlog and prepare the roadmap. So we are aligned on what we need to do, and we're gonna do it. Yeah.
Wonderful. What's the timeline on this?
Summer 2023. So I'm gonna keep that a little bit out of the
We will check in on you if that's happening. Any more questions? Yeah, Ivo.
Hey, just a security question again. What if you're drunk, you're laying around, you're drunk, and someone put your band, he took your band. Is there a security option to secure the money on the chip?
So basically, what would happen if someone is stealing your cash in your pocket?
Yes.
It's for sure lost. In our case, you can go just, if you have this integration, like I mentioned, if you have the ticket added to your platform, if you have like this account, then you can just disable your chip. So we can always disable chips. But yeah, to be honest, there are not many cases where this is happening because the chip is always secured on the wristband.
But obviously, Ivo knows how to party, because if you lose your wristband, then obviously you must have had a good time.
Yeah, at festivals, it depends on the festival.
No,
like
I'm being
innen-Spirit or something.
Being a bit cheeky, but yeah.
It's different to Wacken.
No, I understand. You had a question, Snow?
Again, to the cashless payment. I don't hear myself for this, sorry. As a festival goer again, taking for Wacken, you can only use like a week before the cashless, right? You can only start putting money in your wristband a week before the festival. Or can you put there all the time?
You could already start. That's also a decision of the promoter. And yeah, with Wacken it was the first time. So of course we were not too early, to be honest, together. But that is, technology-wise, it doesn't matter. So we have also a client like the Formula 1 in Austria. There you can also upload now because it's one card for the whole racetrack, Red Bull racetrack, which you can use at every event. So
I was thinking more of like a savings plan. I go to Wacken every year, and if I start now, I put money every month aside, and for data for the promoter, of course.
Yeah,
see
maybe
how
a good idea.
There.
Of course, you can also use like Klarna Pay Slice Pay from Klarna, but technically also not a problem. But we don't have it integrated.
Okay.
Good loyalty program.
Yeah.
If they do the right things, then you can give them some beers already throughout the year.
But maybe one thing to add, what some promoters are doing is if people are loading money on the wristband before the event, that they get 10% extra. And that's really pushing the top-ups. And what we found out, it's a logical thing, of course, if there's more money in the system, more money is spent on site. And yeah, people who are topping up before the festival are spending on average 30% more on site.
Yeah, just as a sort of additional comment on this, during COVID, I mean, obviously now we're challenged to have less money available, different crises, COVID, so forth, and I think a lot of payment providers are coming up with plans that work for younger people or a younger generation who really have to do this layaway plan. So Klarna is a good example for concert tickets as well. It's a Swedish app. I think it's very popular in Germany as well. So and a lot of regular banks are following on this, and also credit cards. So I think that we will see a lot more of these plans where you can actually have a little piggy bank for your merchandise spent or for your food spent or so. Any other questions? Yes, or you want to? I think she has the mic.
For the payment of the chip, will there be an automatic recharge after the festival? Is it planned or something? Because
it's planned for next year. We don't have it integrated. It's quite easy. At the moment, you need to request the payout. You need to type in your IBAN, and then you get it. But yeah, that would be quite logical step to just push it back to the credit card. The only challenge you have here is the money laundering. So if you have like a top up with 100 euro in cash and 10 euros in credit card, you can only get back 10 euros on the credit card, at least in Europe, because of money laundering.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so maybe to stir the conversation into a little bit of a different direction. So we've talked a lot about seamless integration and sort of a really fluid experience. And I think part of that is also connected to security and feeling secure and, this awareness. I think this speaks a lot to your platform, Caroline. That's, I think, one of the features you're focusing on to assure that there are heat maps available and people can react quickly if there's, some debris from a stage that might have, kind of some technical issues or so forth. Can you maybe speak to that a little bit?
Of course. Security was one of the major issues that drove us to develop this technology. So we want to provide a secure and safe event. So we support the event organizer to understand how the behavior of the groups is going to be, and to understand where the density is too high, so that we can see if there's a bottleneck or you have to intervene with security personnel and so on, and to organize the flow of the people over a site.
And do you have any integration in your platform or an app or something where you connect with the organizers in case there is an immediate threat, like a bottleneck or something at the entrance? Or?
Yes. You can use it for predictive use cases that you can see in 10, 15, half an hour or 60 or 120 minutes. There's going to be at a place where the crowd is too
dense, like
the place is too
yeah.
dense, and then you can intervene there in a more wise way. You, of course, if you see there's a place where it's too crowded, you can send there immediately someone there, and then they can take pictures. They can advise the people to go away, or it's a real-time analysis tool, so you see what's happening there.
And how does this work practically? So I am an organizer, I have a team of 30 people and maybe 5 day managers, and they're connected to your platform, and there's an automatic sort of a push notification, there's a problem coming up in this area, or do you have another team on your site that is kind of manually texting people and saying, this is happening right now?
There are two things. You see on the dashboard the density of the crowd, and then you can intervene, or the people are in the crowd, and then they can communicate back to the command and control center and share their observations, and then they can send pictures, they can send messages. We have as well the location-based messaging function in there. So if you have a stage, there are too many people, you can select this group and just send them a message and warn them, be careful, go away, and use another stage, for example, because it's getting too crowded. So we have all this real-time messaging functions there.
Mm-hmm. And how much of your platform is customizable? Like how flexible are you if there's a specific festival with like a very specific arrangement of stages or different floors? Like how agile are you?
Every festival is unique, and we are flexible to 100%. We want to make our platform useful for every customer and for their needs. So whatever there is, we can adjust. There are some use cases that are recurring, so we know very good what are their general needs. But of course, if a customer has any special requirement, we address that.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Any questions from the audience on this? Yeah, please.
I would have questions regarding the regulatory requirements for cashless payment systems. For once, am I suddenly regulated as a bank, as a event organizer? And second, what are the implications on tax law? And are these systems regulated like a cash register with like the new TSE standard in Germany, for example? What are the consequences?
Yeah, so to the first question, we don't getting the funds. So if you are topping up money here on the cashless stations, it's always, in this case, on Pay One, which is a bank. So we just a technical partner, but we never touch the funds, and also not on the festival. If they are accepting cash for the top up, we just provide the technology, but the cash handling is always on the promoter's responsibility. That's the first question. Yeah, second, you're right. There is a new law in Germany, TSE. In Austria, it's called different. Yes, we are also certified in Germany and also in Austria. So if you are spending some euros at the bars here, you have online in the event portal, you can get your receipt, which is also with a signature on it from the financial authorities.
So the data would be stored in the cloud, I suppose, at your company, or how does it work?
It's a private cloud. It's in a private data center in Germany, but it's a private cloud, yeah. Okay. But we also have some services on Google Cloud.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? You okay?
No, it's not on Get It. One question: would it be possible to get access to the heat maps during the festival? Because this year at Southside Festivals there were some situations where too many people come together, and it started to get really that the people get.
Do you mean as
panicked.
an audience, as a person who's attending?
Or for me as a seller, so to orientate, and that would be a good thing, because at the Southside Festival, after seat was coming, it was very, very, very tight, and I just got away because I felt that it could be panic.
Yeah.
So, would that be possible?
It could be possible, of course. It's technology, so you can make everything possible. I wouldn't recommend it because, you know, to understand a heat map, you have you need some knowledge about the metric, and you need some knowledge to make the interpretation of, you know, the density there. So you have colors, you have, you know, numbers and so on. And to really come to the right conclusion, you have to understand a little bit the technology. And when someone is not trained on the technology and on the metric, on the philosophy, and they can misinterpret the heat maps, and could, you know, it could happen that the panic rises, although there is no reason for panic. So I wouldn't recommend to give this information or these heat maps to the audience. What I would recommend to every event organizer to start a good communication strategy, because you have the location-based messaging function there, and with that you can communicate with the audience and at places where it's too crowded, and can inform them. But it's, in my opinion, it's better to have it one way, and the other way around, the people are not trained for that.
It's just an option, and when you have just, okay, it's blue, it's okay, and when it gets darker.
But people need to know what does blue mean, what does red mean, what does green mean, so, you know,
That's
everyone...
Easy.
Yeah, you can have an emphasis...
Never underestimate them.
Excuse me?
Don't underestimate them.
Actually,
yeah, you also have a responsibility as a technology provider, right? So that's always the tricky, like, how do you help people, how do you actually I
kind of disagree, and I kind of agree with you. With all due respect, we have a similar technology going on at AppMiddle, and we use that kind of data. And I think real time is one. That's real time for the promoter, but even more real time is giving the power back to the audience. Because how can we make sure that if you want to do an action, I want to go to the toilet, I want to know if it's busy or not. Or I'm at one part of town and I want to go to another part of town. I want to see if the venue is full or not. So that is something that we have incorporated into our interface, that we call it a traffic light system, and it's red, orange, and green. And based on the location data, we can see if something is red, orange, or green. And indeed, we trust that is easy for the people to understand. If it's red, then it's closed. And if it's green, then it's open. With the heat maps, I do follow that it's not always that simple to visualize that, but we already did it for 2 festivals where we can incorporate the heat maps into the actual interactive map, because you're navigating on a map, and it makes sense that you see if you want to change your location, if this is the right choice, yes or not. And we're coming back to the same thing. I'm already there for 5 hours, so if I need to make that 30-minute walk and it's crowded, then I'm screwed. So I don't want to do that. I want to know up front. So I think that there is some kind of a solution needed there, indeed.
But I think the point is to find a way to translate that into your, into the personal device of a user, and not to between sort of an event organizer, a security head of security, or a scientist or a company who provides the technology and the actual personal user. So I think, and that translation seems to be happening in your app. So I applaud sort of that system, and we've seen that at different showcase festivals already, and so I think that's a good direction. But
or on the big screen, sometimes in conference you can see it on a big screen. So you see where the crowd is moving or what is happening. So
yeah, it's very similar to an airport, right? Like security check-in on this side, you know, you might have to walk there a little bit, but it's much quicker than staying in the main lane. So yeah.
But Robin, just one question. You would see your solution also like just a recommendation for a visitor, right? But not as a source for a security manager, because then it's because you cannot trust 100% on the data, because if the device is offline, yeah, you think there are no people in front of the stage. Or how do you see that?
True, but you can always, at some point we also did Friend Finder. If you need to, you have to add something like, it was updated 2 minutes ago. Yeah. And if you're offline and it has a visual reference saying, yeah, this is only updated 30 minutes ago, then it gives you the idea that, this may not be real time. Yeah. So I think it's definitely the point. If you're visualizing something and it's not correct, then you need to let them know when was the last time that it was updated.
Yeah, because how we do it on small areas, on VIP areas, that we are counting in with turnstiles in and out. So we exactly know if the promoter says, on this stage, on this floor, there are maximum 5,000 people possible, then it would not work with a technology like your technology, because you cannot guarantee that this is the right data, because not everybody has it activated and not everybody has a smartphone maybe on site.
You don't need everybody to use it. For us, as I said before, with 50,000 people, we only need 2%. This is 1,000 people who need to opt in, and then you can aggregate the data and have a good analysis basis. But of course, for security issues, I really recommend that someone looks after it, who's experienced enough with it. For convenience purposes, or for avoiding queues or something like that, that can help. Of course, it's very nice. But for security issues, it can, put pressure and fear and panic on the people, and some are cool and relaxed when they see these kind of heat maps. And I wouldn't guess, or I wouldn't estimate that all the people are always relaxed and chilled. So I would leave security with the security people.
Absolutely. I think that's a very important point to make, that it's always a combination of people being smart enough to use technology and people being educated on how to use it. And yeah. Any more questions from the audience? Because I think we might need to wrap up quickly. Unfortunately, we're running out of time on this panel. Maybe for a last round, we haven't talked about business models. So if you could, each of you really briefly say sort of what the business model is, who's paying what for what kind of service, just as a rough estimate, then yeah, that would be my first question. And the second one is, where can people find you during Futute of Festivals, here, maybe tomorrow, and how could they contact you afterwards? And the third question is, what's your vision for the future, sort of what's the future of festivals?
Right, so first question, I think don't see a festival application as a cost, you should see it as an investment, and I think that 75% of our clients are making money on their application. And making money, it's logical, because we haven't discussed this, but sponsorship is a huge thing. And the problem is that even at a festival, we are running around our smartphones at an event. So billboards or flags or banners, it's not that relevant anymore. You need to give your sponsors also some digital stage time. And having an application for all the other stuff that we've discussed will also allow the sponsors to be embedded in that digital experience. So that means that adding these sponsors in there in a non-intrusive, not like Facebook, but in a non-intrusive way, that could easily pay the bill for not just your application, but your entire tech stack, your entire marketing stack, even your security stack that you need. So I think that should be the business model. Besides upgrading the visitor experience, you can lower your marketing cost and you can higher your revenues on sponsorships. So that's good. We're right over there in the booth, so if you want to talk to AppMiddle, we're on the left side here a little bit further. And the third question was?
What's your vision for the future? And you have about 30 seconds to do that.
My vision on the future, I think that as in other industries, festivals should work on loyalty programs. 80 or 90% of the ticket buyers is recurring, so it makes total sense that you give them some kind of value for that recurrence, for that loyalty. So I think that customer data and seamless journeys like we're doing, that will be my idea on the future. But definitely that technology touchless. It will being a big part of the future of festivals. Yeah.
Thank you, Robin. Caroline?
I start with the vision. Our vision is the 3S. We want to make events smarter, safer, and more sustainable. So we have planned a few new features for the next year. The business model question, what we want to do is we want to give insights for event organizers they haven't thought about before. So we are not only data-driven, we want to be data-inspired. We want to give them ideas, they have never thought about before. And the third question was about the booth. Our booth is right over there. There you can meet Sophia, Nariman, and me. And you can also connect with us via LinkedIn or write us an email or just drop by.
Wonderful. Tim?
Yeah, our business model is based on visitors. Of course, cashless payment access control is not a cheap thing, to be honest. But we are enabling a lot of tools on site. We are providing all the hardware for, so we're the only hardware startup here. We are providing a lot of hardware for the point of sale, which is in the end expensive. What can I add here as well? So what we also saw, once we do a festival, of course it sounds expensive in the beginning, but when they use the tool, they see all the data, they see all the advantages they have. And I would say, we never lost a customer which went back to cash. So that's for me a thing. Okay, it really makes sense. But we are not focusing only on cashless payment with wristbands. We are a hybrid payment company. We also offer cash payments with credit card, debit card, and also Apple Pay. So we see us not as the closed-loop payment company, but we see us as the company which is providing technology for payment and access control on events. First question. Second one, our booth is just in the middle of this hall, F01. We are also hosting a small party at 6. You're all invited, free beer. So please come. And the third question, the vision. We see us as a technology leader. We try to adapt to the needs. We have all our development in-house. We try to grow with our customers. That's very important for us. We have a lot of long-term relationships with our customers. We are fully API based. That's also why for us it's quite easy to integrate, because we believe it's very important to adapt to different partners. And we try just to develop technology on events, but we are not focused only on the wristband payment, as I mentioned, but more on the idea itself. And one last thing, we don't know yet where it will go, but we know, or we believe that it will not be cash at the festival at least. So yeah.
One certainty is always good, yeah. So one topic that's super important is that we haven't really touched on is sustainability. Caroline mentioned it briefly. I know it's a very important topic for you as well. So with the last remaining 2 minutes, maybe your idea on how to address sustainability within your business models?
Yeah, so we also started a project. It started with simple things like paperless office. We have electric cars. We try to ship as less as possible. And that's maybe also one of our biggest advantages, that we work, if you go to our booth, we work with small devices on the point of sale. So if we do a vacuum festival, which is for sure one of the biggest in the world, it's about one truck. So one 3.5 ton truck, or maybe two 7.5 tons truck. And we really believe that we are not producing a lot of CO2 with our solution.
Caroline?
Excuse me. On the topic of sustainability,
yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, ESG and sustainability is one of our major topics for next year. So we want to support all the ESG reporting. What we do is modality sensing. So our technology is so advanced and data-driven that we know exactly how the people come to a festival, what means do they use to go there, and there we can advise organizers or the people themselves to get greener in their travel behaviors.
Yeah, increased number of trains going to the site and so forth. Yeah,
gain the insight so that they understand how they go there and how green they are, and also advise them. And we have a function to compensate their ungreen behavior. Mm-hmm. So,
Robin?
For the mobile application, it all started a few years ago, or a small decade ago, that they have a printed booklet, and by the time it came from the printing office, it was already wrong, because there was a change in the program, or a sponsor didn't pay, so it was always wrong. So don't print out booklets anymore, I would say. Use the application, you will save a lot of trees. On the other hand, also, I think it's important also for the tickets, because don't let the people print out their tickets. We can use virtual tickets for that, Apple Wallet, but also our own in-app ticket wallet. And for the rest, we can only support sustainability. So all the initiatives that there are at the festival grounds, we can inform them about it. And that's what we can do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the insights into your business models. Please feel free to contact the panel speakers. I'm also available if you want to talk to me. And please check out also the booth of Music Declares Emergency, a very important initiative. I think they're over by stage 2. And yeah, thank you for your time today. I hope it was interesting, and thank you all for your attention.